Oh Mushoku Tensei, you made me feel glass to wall throwing anger, the saddest happiness, and everything in between. I swear, watching it was like eating Barty Bot's every flavored beans until the Ranoa Magic Academy arc made everything that came before look like a damn fanfic. However, is it enough to redeem the story, and will it stay true to its newly established standards? Hello comrade, my name is Mahis. Come, get yourself a beverage and sit down with me. We got a strange one to cover. Light novel spoilers, by the way. For starters, you need to understand where I'm coming from when I say that the writing, at least in the anime, is bad all the way until we get into this prestigious university. It's not the world, not the side characters, not the magic system, it's literally one thing that ruins everything else. Rudy. For fuck's sake, the most generous way I can describe his storyline is inconsistent, because it's a roller coaster of 1 minute I'm all going through struggles, mentally growing up, becoming a better person, and the other I'm putting some panties on my face to run around like I belong in Shimoneta. Yes, he's a degenerate, but he went through so many main character moments, including almost dying on several occasions, letting others die in front of him, seeing how messed up the world can be, and he still behaves like it's the first episode 12 or some years ago. I don't buy it. There is no way a person, even as messed up as he is, can go through years of living an entirely different life with new role models, environments, challenges, and not change. Well, he does change, but it doesn't stick. Look at his interactions with the man god. I get that he is sus to say the least, but our man later accepts to trust him a bit and be more respectful, only to go back to his sour-ass disposition the next time they talk. Every time there is some progress with his character, the next episode throws it out the window. Here's an example. His abilities. We keep hearing that Rudy is this genius mage, has a great mana pool, can literally see into the future, but he always fights like he's an underdog and almost never uses his whole arsenal in the fight. He mastered the Demon Eye in a matter of a week, however, guess how often he uses it? When he was caught off guard by Goose? Nope. During Gallus's assault on the village? Only at the very end. When he felt that something was wrong in Chiron Palace? Not at all. Hell, listen to this gem. He couldn't see? What about the clay pot you helped Mr. Cleaner to dodge? It was the same exact situation, and all you needed to do is look at our guys to see if they got attacked. You have such an insane ability that you should spam every chance you get instead of sitting there contemplating, oh, can I fight? Can I win? Maybe I'll wait for people around me to get injured or die so I can have my 27th main character moment and one-tap the opponent. Dude has enough power to damage the strongest character, change weather and landscape, can see into the future, and some no-name mobs are scaring him? I know I sound like a broken record, yet I can't stress enough the fact that what we're told and what we see doesn't fucking match. Case in point, the first few episodes of the second season. I was joking about this being a fanfic, but it's so poorly written that even when it got surprisingly good, it fumbled so hard I almost broke my damn table. Starting with the fight with the bears. He was all sad, giving up and so on, to then have a main character moment and save the day, breaking through his grief, ready to continue his journey forward. But what was episode 23 called? Wake Up and Take a Step, where Rudy went through the same exact shit, literally walking past his old self, telling me as a viewer, I'm ready. Why do we repeat this? Okay, if he rediscovered the joys of battle, which was one of the key points of this episode, then what is this scene about? Oh no, scary lizards are coming, they're going to eat us all, whatever will I do? Man, you lived on the demon continent, this shouldn't be worth your attention, let alone concern, yet instead of fighting them as a combat enjoyer, you let your teammates do the job while you sob about some unrelated shit. What changed since the last episode? What was the purpose of building up his character moment if he reverts back in less than 20 minutes of screen time? It's one thing if the character gets these opportunities and refuses to develop because reasons, but to show progress only to send him back to his previous ways like it never happened is just disrespectful to your viewers. Take the next mini-arc with Soldat, his conversation with Rudy after the mission, in the bar, and the subsequent quest to fix RMC's erectile dysfunction. Brilliant, absolutely outstanding piece of writing. We got enemies become friends, real problems, looking for a solution, failure leading to a night of blackout drinking. Dude, I've never seen ED being brought up in the anime, let alone treated with so much respect and understanding. So, when the poor boy decides to open up, swears to be truthful and drop the facade, it was so devastating to see this scene because we went from a serious anime to an average high school drama. Soldat lost all his reflexes and let this idiot talk, they just happened to be in the same place at the same time, and worst of all, it never gets resolved. Yes, Sarah disliked Rudy from the get-go, but he proved himself twice, literally saved her from certain death, went on a date with her, didn't go so well, it happens. Then they see each other again, she hears him talking shit, returns his present, runs away, and nothing comes out of it. Sorry, that was not intended. My problem is not his very realistic pain nor dealing with trauma Ares caused. It's the fact that the entire episode was focused on not using words or actions to hide it, and it's precisely what he does, covering his supposed disinterest in Sarah by her not looking too womanly. This whole exchange feels like it was made specifically to give our main character a reason to leave this town and get to the place where the plot is actually well thought out. Now that I said it out loud, if you think about the Ranoa Academy arc as the point where the story was initially conceived, things start to make sense. Let me pretend to be writing the script. Why would a world-class mage want to go study in a college? Maybe to put himself in a place where he has the most chance to learn or discover something specific. A spell? A curse? Healing? Something unconventional like, he can't get it up. He's a dude and it's very important for us. But what if he's a perv, like a real bad one, and this experience is what turns him into a better person? Yeah, we also need a love interest to make things spicy. What if it's a childhood friend that he saved from bullying? Why was she bullied? Racism, she was half demon, and so on and so forth. This ass-backwards perspective is the best one I have to describe how irrational the plot is sometimes and why the man god is such a helpful character since he can just guide the show in whichever direction required. It's not just Rudy, by the way, others do stupid unexplainable shit too. Take Doldia people, they storm the bandit hideout, see everyone dead and some schmuck hugging a sacred beast like they've known each other for years. Sure, knock him out cause you don't want to take chances. But once you look around and put those very good noses to use, it won't require a triple-digit IQ to conclude that this kid actually released the dog and may have helped your kids too. After all, they'll 100% recognize the smell of their kin on his person, leading to an interrogation scene and then tracking it back to Rudy. Speaking of whom, how in the hell did they not cross paths or haven't picked up on the fresh scent of their tribe outside the entrance? They showed up rather quickly and it wouldn't have been more than a few minutes since our guys separated, so there's absolutely no way the Beast People wouldn't pursue their own, especially after seeing all the bandits killed inside. Rudy was also being quite dumb. Instead of talking nonsense, he should have stated loud and clear, I saved your children, they are currently with my friend, I can lead you to them. Maybe toss in a few descriptions for some emotional manipulation, cause that's what he was doing before. Remember how he handled the conversation with Paul about who bullied who? Or with Ares or kidnappers? This is one of his strongest sides we were introduced to early on, but it has a tendency to conveniently disappear. Like when he had a conversation with himself about not mentioning the man god out loud, only to admit it once the worst possible person pries about him. I mean, he probably would have seen right through a lie, but at least try to stay true to yourself and say no. I understand that there's an element of wanting to talk about it Subaru style. However, for a guy who was pretty good at talking to people and understanding the situation, this entire conversation was very out of character. Alright, enough of this. I'm sure I made my point clear. The main character is all over the place, with a growth chart fluctuating between his starting level and whatever the situation requires. That's Rudy at home, who is a complete opposite from Rudy from Ranoa Magic Academy. He's smart, very capable, and acts in accordance with his rich life experience. Example, he is challenged to showcase his silent spellcasting through a little duel. You'd never guess the first thing he does. Activating his Sharingan. I almost busted a nut there, but he proceeded to efficiently deal with poor Sylphie and read the room, not wanting to damage her reputation. Again, that's the same person who couldn't keep his mouth shut after seeing a bull run off the cliff sensing Orsted and his friends scared shitless to even move in his presence. Let's look at another skirmish while we at it. Doldia girls. Obviously they're not going to pose a challenge, but he still starts with the Demon Eye, uses various attacks and even throws in a lewd comment. perfectly in line with the character he is supposed to be. He turned bespoke advantages against Bursina, used both magic and melee combat, as well as showcased total control over the situation. A drastic contrast to the previous arc, which finally allowed for the plot and its delivery to shine brighter than Immolent SR32. Apologies, I never meant to suggest that the world building in the show is bad or that the story is boring. No, everything outside Rudy was to my satisfaction, as I'm a big fan of shows that focus on things other than the main character like Hunter x Hunter, Overlord, Slime, etc. And in Mushoku Tensei, I found that episodes which excluded our lovely bowl of controversy were the most enjoyable, or at least had no dips in said enjoyment. So, when I noticed this happening during the times Rudy was on screen, I felt complete because this is finally a show I am willing to watch. I'm not kidding, this went from a measly 6-7 all the way to a 10, with episode 9 giving me the same chills and edge of the seat experience as that one conversation between Roswell and Subaru. So much shit just came together, and the story got way more exciting, which wouldn't have been possible without seeing all these bits earlier in season 1. That's a damn shame, because so many people never got to this part of the story as a result of certain characteristics of the main character, which were extremely overplayed. Let me tell you what I think the idea of Mushoku Tensei is. Even the most despicable, disgraced people can change for the better and live a good life. We see it very well in the Ranoa arc, since Rudy now and then are like stages of Pokemon, an improvement on all fronts. There's still a bit of dirtiness in him as it's a major part of his personality, yet he went from a degenerate to a little vulgar. I mean, unsolicited titty grabbing is pretty bad, but at least it was done with a purpose to see if there's any movement downstairs. Look at how he behaved around Sylphie at different stages of knowledge of who she truly is. One word comes to mind. Regardless of whether she was a humble bro or a top-tier waifu, Rudy treated her with utmost respect. Even when she was practically throwing herself at him, he maintained focus and put her dignity above his own desires. Of course he wanted to get some action as he was falling in love with her. However, after all he has been through and all the mistakes he made, he couldn't consider this bizarre adventure straight out of a dating sim to be exactly that. Which is interesting, because I bet he was playing them at some point in life, further proving that he no longer associates with his previous ways and embraced Rudy's Grey Rat as his second chance. Exactly what he was pretending to do since episode 1. I say pretending because his mentality stayed more or less the same and slipped back every chance he got, unlike during his time in Ranoa. That's where we get his redemption, which consists of several layers. Number 1, he learned to respect people around him and, more importantly, respect himself. Number 2, this all happened in a schooling environment, making him come full circle, similar to real life. And the third is his decision to marry Sylphie that indicates his commitment to one person, putting a big fat dot in the long list of people he was sexually attracted to. Or so I thought. You see, I've always considered Mushoku Tensei as an adult, serious story about a person hitting a bottom of the barrel and finding his way out. Never once a power fantasy or an isekai harem crossed my mind, because Rudy always worked hard towards achieving his strength and place in the world. Yeah, he got a few gifts from the plot almighty, but he was practicing magic since he was barely walking. No wonder he was head and shoulders above others. Anyway, the point here is to show to the viewer that with time and dedication, you can achieve great things like getting a decent job, a scholarship in a place of learning, finding people who believe in you, all that good stuff you can do in our world, just wrapped in a magic, fantasy, anime package to better deliver the message. But as soon as you introduce something that's too good to be true and barely achievable IRL, you turn a parable into a fairy tale. There is an expression in Russian, "И рыбку съесть, и нахуй сесть," roughly translating into "have your cake and eat it too," which is exactly where Mushoku Tensei is heading. Sylphie, Roxy, Ares will all make one big Grey Rat family and will live happily ever after. Naturally, that's an oversimplification, yet it reminds me of something I mentioned before, how Sarah's story had no resolution. Unlike her, the plot can't just drop these girls as they played a crucial role in our main character's life, so it chooses the path of least resistance of him loving and marrying them all. It's boring, sends the wrong message, and takes away from character development. What was the point of going through this entire hoopla with fixing the damage Ares caused by ditching Rudy if she will end up joining his harem? To me, that means he never overcame his feelings for her and Sylphie was just a plug to fill the hole. You can say, well, he fell back in love just like he did with this ray of sunshine, but that's equally bad in validating his commitment. I'd rather see how he would explain that Sylphie is his one and only, the trauma he had to fix, and that he does or doesn't forgive Ares for doing what she did. It's a much more dramatic approach, with higher stakes and tougher moral dilemmas that may very much come up in real life where you can have both. Roxy is another story. Rudy treated her as a goddess and worshipped her damn panties, which is a misguided way to interpret his feelings thanks to whatever his browsing history looked like. If anything, her role was similar to a parent, but instead of giving life, she expanded it through teaching him magic and helping him break some severe mental blocks. Think of how children sometimes want to marry their parents because they don't know that love comes in many forms and is different for a spouse, a sibling, or the best friend. Take Bisky from Hunter x Hunter. She totally grew attached to our boys and forged a very strong bond, but she'd never consider a romantic relationship with her students, and I don't think Roxy would either. Alas, the plot takes us on a journey of collecting all the starter wives, mixing in some other totally unimportant events, where Rudy lives all the way until the age of 74. Going back to my original perception of the show, the story of redemption with intricate morale, hard work, and adult decisions turned out to be a simple do nothing with your life, get hit by a truck, and enjoy everything you want in your afterlife. In this sense, Mushoku Tensei is just another isekai power fantasy, albeit with an exciting story and interesting characters. It was I, Mahis, getting disappointed into the microphone. Have a great whatever time of the day you have. Until next time, cheers.